morning, everybody. Week 2, day 3. I was just playing Black Sabbath's Sign of the Southern Cross. And the reason why I was playing it, besides the fact that it is an amazing song, is that it says, then how can I know what you might believe? Because we are talking about truth and belief and knowledge and stuff like that this week. So today we're going to continue our discussion of knowledge. You might notice that I have yet another Ralph Lauren Polo soft shirt t-shirt on. Whether it's the same one or a different one, the lighting is different now. I'll allow you to make up your own minds, your own beliefs on that one. I know the truth, but I'm not gonna mess with you guys anymore over it. It seems like it'd be belaboring the point a little bit. So, Sign of the Southern Cross obviously was Dio era, Black Sabbath. I'll post the link to that in the chat if you like. How did you know it's yellow? Okay, so knowledge is generally held to be a true, justified belief. So you know something when you believe something to be true. It is true, and you can justify it to be true. And that justification is kind of what we've been getting at over the last two lectures of messing with you over just something as simple as shirt color. The question of like what amounts to sufficient evidence to warrant belief, like how much, like I was showing you like receipts from like the store that I bought the shirt from. I showed you a photograph, different lighting conditions, and this is considered like pretty good evidence, right? Like most people consider photographic evidence, video evidence to be like top tier, right? Like if somebody said that they saw an alien last night, you'd be like, did you take a picture of it, right? Like that's kind of our go-to. Like, you always have your cell phone on it. We live in a world where everybody takes selfies like every 10 seconds and nobody can go out to eat without photographing their food for whatever reason. So why didn't you take a picture of the alien, or even better, pull out, turn on the video mode and take a video of the alien? I was too scared at the time. Yeah, I don't believe you. If you had a video, then, that's one thing, but you guys have a video, you have the recorded lectures, you have various photographs taken under different lighting conditions, and yet there still doesn't seem to be much agreement among the students as to what color the shirt is for something very simple, right? And then if you do take a video, they say it's faked or whatever, and now we're getting into like a world where deep fakes are a thing, right? Where you can basically use AI to slap the face of one person on another person, and that's gonna lead to all sorts of problems for like the legal system. You slap the face of, I don't know, your buddy on Osama bin Laden, and he gets arrested for being a terrorist. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole world of like, it's gonna get sticky. If people start widely faking videos, because right now it's too hard, right? It's too expensive to, fraudulently doctor video. Photoshops are one thing, but doing a high quality video fake, it's like kind of out of the league of most people. So, how do you know that aliens can't be self-conscious on camera, or maybe they just have a in a role playing game I play called Shadowrun. I've got all my books down here. Here's the latest edition of it, carbon fiber book cover. There is a species of Sasquatch that their racial ability is that they emit a field that blurs all photographs taken of them. So like if a security camera is on the Sasquatch, it always comes out blurry, which is just hilarious because that explains like Bigfoot. Like if you've ever seen those photos of Bigfoot, they're always like super blurry and stuff like that. And so that's actually their racial abilities. It's just all photos of them always come out blurry. And maybe aliens have the same thing. I don't know. So, and so we're really talking about justification, right? And there's kind of two large branches of justifications. There are a priori ones and a posteriori ones. These are vocabulary words that will come up on every midterm and final, and we'll do probably a lot of quizzes on them and stuff like that too. So this is too big. I guess that's 4 actually, or I'm Richard Nixon, one or the other. These are the 2 big schools of thought, 2 branches of like how you know something. Okay, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me, Godzilla 2000. TV show Finding Bigfoot. Yeah, all it is shaky cam footage. I heard something in the branches. Yeah. Okay. So, a priori means before. Is literally just what it means, like beforehand. It's Latin for beforehand. And a posteriori means after. And that's that, you know, that's literally what it means. It's like ho and chien in Mandarin, right? Before and after. Mae atode in Japanese. But before and after what? The before and after an observation. Okay? So, do you guys think that my cell phone is black? You haven't observed my cell phone yet. Just right now, do you think that my cell phone is black? No? No? You think that I'm one of those people... Because you have some knowledge. Like, you haven't observed the cell phone, but maybe it's second week of school, maybe it's still too early. Maybe you know that I'm not the kind of person that would have, like, one of those, like, gold iPhones, you know, with, like... I'll tell you right now, it's Android, right? It's not... I don't like Apple. I used to be an Apple person, and then their corporate policies sort of... led to a divorce between me and Apple. So, is it silver? There is chrome on the edges, but let's ignore the decorations. Let's just talk about the main color of the I guess the front of the screen's an LCD screen. Let's say the main color of the back of the cell phone. It's highly likely that it's black. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that you have some knowledge. Like, most Android phones are black. Right? So you have some knowledge despite having not made an observation. You know something about my personality by now. I like screwing with students. I don't like Apple. Right? Maybe, you know, I like black shirts. You know, it's enough maybe that you can make a reasonable guess. Like, would you put $5 down if I told you I'd give you 2-to-1 odds? If you get it right, I'll pay you $10. If you get it wrong, you pay me $5. Would you take that bet? I do have a cell phone. I'll say that also. You can't see the live video. More of a darker color. Okay. I'm wearing a lighter t-shirt today, I think. What model is the phone? Oh, okay. It is a LG phone, model V60. That's a good question. I like that. So if we pull it up here, LG V60 colors, we can see what options there are for the phone. There's white, and then there's, again, the sort of French Navy purple-blue color. That's it, I think. I think those are the 2 options. So, assuming I'm not lying to you, and I'm not. That wouldn't suit my purpose today. I'm not going to mess with you on the color. You're just... guess if it's the lighter one or the darker one. If I gave you 2-to-1 odds that, you know, if you lose, you pay me $5, and if you win, I pay you $10, do you think, based on what you know of me, you could guess which of those 2 colors I have? Flip a coin? Well, if you flip a coin, you're saying you don't know. Right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that you haven't made an observation yet. What you guys are engaged in right now is called a priori reasoning. Based on, you know, the facts that we have, we can make deductions and be like, all right, based on Kearney, he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would have a white phone, and he does like that French Navy color, so maybe it's like that purple, blue, indigo, whatever. It's not. Today's lecture is not about messing with you guys about the color. It's just today's lecture is about a priori. Just you have a certain set of facts, and then you're going to make deductions from those facts to make a reasonable, guess as to what color phone I have. Looks like everybody is saying darker, and in fact, it is the darker one. So there you go. See, it's a V60. Wasn't lying to you about that. And it is the blurred. Yeah. I'm not going to mess with you on the color. It's the darker color, whatever you want to call that one. This is clearly not white. Okay, like we all agree on this. I'm not digitally editing the video footage. Okay, so yeah, so you guys got it. I don't know if anybody said white. You take the odds. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I wasn't lying about the model. You can see this is a V60 here that comes through. So, but then again, you are accepting video evidence. So, the observation, so a priori means the work that you do prior to an observation, or the kind of reasoning you do without needing to make an observation. Like, for example, if you do math in your head, you can know that if you have 100 apples and add 100 apples to it, that you now have 200 apples, right? You don't actually have to go to an apple farm and like set out, 100 apples and 100 apples and go through that tedious process of, adding them all together. Then you miscount, you get 198. You're like, oh, I know that's not right. And I know it's not right because I've done it in my head. You know what I mean? That's called a priori reasoning. The kind of thing that you can do in your head without having to go out and make an observation in the world, that's a priori. It means before observation. Really, it means like the kind of stuff you can do sitting on your couch, right? Like probably some of you are sitting on your couch right now, like just like, I don't know, laying down and, vaguely watching this class. And you were still able to guess my cell phone color, right? Without making an observation of it, right? So a posteriori is the kind of thing that we often associate with science. So empirical observations, we call them. When you make an observation of the world, like from where I am standing, I can observe a electric guitar, right? And now you guys can observe an electric guitar as well. Okay. So in science, what separates science from anecdote, according to Mythbusters, is writing it down. Right. So what makes observation science is you sit there and you're like, all right, I'm going to make a list of, the things. What does it say? No more room. Okay. Yeah. So you make a list of things you've observed, and then you write a report on it or whatever. You type it up for a journal and submit it. And that's science. Science is basically making observations and then drawing generalizations from them. That's science. Like, forget about all this stuff on this scientific method you see on, like, posters in middle school and stuff like that. We'll have a whole lecture on the scientific method. But ultimately, what science is, it's a process of making observations and then trying to build a model that kind of encompasses those observations, right? So, if I'm studying scrub jays, I might write down how often they call. I write down their observed behaviors, and they say, okay, well, scrub jays tend to leave they migrate to the North Pole. They don't. In September, and so you make these generalizations from the observations. That's a posteriori reasoning. A posteriori reasoning is what we call science. The kind of stuff that comes from observations and then drawing models from those observations and things like that as well. So math and logic are a priori reasonings. They're forms of a priori. Like if you do logic, a lot of philosophy is a priori. Is murder wrong? You don't have to observe a murder. You know what I mean? To know it's wrong, right? Or at least I hope most of you think that's wrong. Do you guys understand the difference between a priori and a posteriori? It's actually a really important topic. Okay, which one do you prefer? So back in the day, like there was this divide in philosophy between what's called the rationalists and the continentalists. Um, continental philosophy means something different today, but between the rationalists and the continentalists. And one was a group that said a priori is the best form of reasoning or best form of knowing things, and the continentalists were saying it's a posteriori is the best. Um, which one? Which one do you prefer? Which one do you think is better? To make a loaded question there, because I mean a lot of people will say both, but you know, let's say which one do you prefer? Like which one, or which one do you think is more certain? So oftentimes a priori, a posteriori, kind of about a split here. A lot of scientifically minded people obviously prefer a posteriori reasoning because it's science. You know, that's the reasoning of science. You make an observation, you draw a conclusion from it. A lot of logic and math people prefer a priori. Given 5 axioms that you know to be true, what true things can you prove from it? Well, I can prove that the square root of 2 is an irrational number by setting up a proof with this number divided by this number and showing that if this was divisible by this, at the end, square root of 2 is irrational. That is an a priori proof. You don't need to go out and measure the diagonal of a square to know that it's irrational. In fact, you can't. If you tried measuring the diagonal, because do you guys know that the diagonal of a square is root 2 in length, right? Of the root 2 times whatever the size of the square is. There's no way of measuring that and knowing that it's irrational, because whatever measurement you get is a rational number. There's no way through observation to know that that number is in fact irrational. The only way of proving that is through a priori reasoning. Okay. So a posteriori is more certain, but I like a priori more. Interesting. Okay. When something can be proven through observation, it will stand a better chance of being true. So what about Drew? A long time in science, we believe there's no such thing as a black swan, right? So in fact, that's a phrase, black swan. Like it's something that might be true, but nobody had ever observed one, and so we concluded from that. We proved it through observation that black swans don't exist on Earth, maybe on an alien world somewhere. Okay, you have to leave it at 10:30. If you participate until then, it is enough. That is a-okay. Then, of course, they made a movie on it. No. Then, of course, Australia, of course, has black swans. So, because you got spiders the size of small dogs. Why wouldn't you have a black swan? So it could be wrong, right? Like a posteriori reasoning is based on your set of observations, and if your set of observations is incomplete, nobody had gone through and inventoried Australia, you could be wrong, right? With a priori, the mistakes come about through errors in logic, right? Like somebody proves that there is a finite number of prime numbers, and then somebody's like, but wait, what if you took all those prime numbers together, multiplied them together, and added 1? And you're like, oh, shoot, you're right. There's an infinite number of prime numbers. And so you go about proving them wrong in very different ways. Do you guys kind of get what I'm saying here? Like it's a different process of knowing things between a priori and a posteriori, right? They probably got lizard people in Australia. Camel spiders are pretty big. A priori is a great basis to have when you cannot observe. That's also true. Like, for example, there is called the Drake equation, if I could spell that right. And this is an a priori argument for the existence of aliens. Okay? And it's not, because we've never observed an alien. And there's probably some people who've had their cows mutilated or something that swear that, yeah, but, for all intents and purposes, we've never observed an alien. So, there's still an argument that can be made that aliens exist. And so the Drake equation is the most famous of them. And so it basically says the number of civilizations that we should be able to detect how many stars form a year, the fraction that have planetary systems, the fraction of those planets that are habitable, the fraction in which life appears, the fraction in which intelligent life appears, the fraction that develop technology that can, like electromagnetic radiation, and the average length of time they produce such science. And so, based on what numbers, what reasonable estimates you come up with these things, you know, like it's kind of hard to tell, like what fraction does life actually appear, and that might in fact be based on like a posteriori, results and things like that. That's fine too. But what is essentially happening here is that they're making an a priori argument that aliens should exist out there. But the fact that we've detected none of them is worrying. Like, based on most, arguments, or most, people who've made this argument, have we nailed down any of the terms? No. Each one of these topics can be related to one of the terms of the Drake equation. Yeah. So, there should be a lot of aliens out there, based on these estimates. We should be getting radio signals from aliens like all the time, and we're not. So either something goes around and wipes out all civilizations that produce electromagnetic signatures, which is terrifying because there's no way that we can recall the broadcast of the Olympics, Hitler's Olympics. That was the first broadcast that reached space. Literally, like, hey, here's humanity. By the way, here's Hitler. And then since then we've had reality TV, which is, I think, grounds enough for any alien civilization to wipe out our sun. We don't see any. And so this is, do you guys see what I'm getting at here? Like, this is just it's a mathematical equation, and then the fact that we're not observing aliens is, like, disturbing to us. Either we're wrong about the science, which we could be, because these are all just, like, rough estimates. Or, Jersey Shore doing this all. Yeah. Or, maybe there's some other term here that we're not thinking about. Maybe life is, only possible through the intervention of God. Maybe aliens just don't broadcast because they're afraid of other aliens attacking them. Like, there's a lot of, like, what ifs that are kind of embedded in that. And it's, there's these people called SETI that, that are constantly scanning. They're constantly scanning the heavens, looking for signs of extraterrestrial life. That's what SETI stands for. Signs of extraterrestrial life, intelligence. Okay, so aliens just don't rock with us. Yeah, they might just not like us. So who knows? Who knows? But do you guys see? Whereas doing something like measuring the weight of an electron, that's a classic a priori example, right? You get an electron, you shoot it at a metal plate, you see how much the plate moves, and you do that as many times you want, and you eventually pin down to greater and greater levels of precision the mass of an electron. But if those studies show alien life, will we take them seriously? That's also a good question. So, like, if our antennas pick up a signal, like, how do we know for sure it's an alien life, right? Because, like, there's a lot of weird signals out there, and some of them were like the results, like pigeons and stuff like that in the satellites, but some of these things are like. And this, by the way, this pisses me off. Like, whoever, the European Union is responsible for this. Every time you go to a website, it's so stupid. Like cookies don't invade your privacy. I'm sorry, they don't. Like, they really don't. They're well formed. Okay. So when it's active, the source gives off radio bursts lasting up to a minute every 20 minutes. So, whatever was the give up burst every 18.18 minutes, like clockwork, with each pulse lasting between 30 and 60 seconds. And so, who knows? Like, there's all sorts of interesting, weird stuff out there, but, like, is it intelligent? Like, who knows? Will we tease the researchers even if there's minimal flaws? Like, yeah, I don't know. A friend of mine is a physics professor. She's now at Ole Miss, and she said that well, I don't know about every, but at physics conferences she would go to, they would have like a crank track. So like, there's different tracks at a conference. You know, like if you're interested in physics education, that's a track. And so they'd have a crank track where like people with like wild ideas would like, they didn't call it that apparently, but you know, and so like she saw that a person was giving a talk on signs of extraterrestrial life on like Europa or Io or like one of the moons of Jupiter. I don't remember which. She was telling me about this, and she was like, "Oh, I studied it. Ganymede. I don't know." She was like, "I studied it, you know." And so I went to this talk, and I was like hoping, like, "Oh, you know, maybe he's got some observations that like you know could be aliens." And he didn't have anything. He was just speculating, like, if aliens were there, what would it look like? And she was like disappointed, you know, and stuff like that. So okay. So do you guys have any questions about this? Because I'm going to move on, and you're going to be responsible for knowing it. Okay. Nope. You got it? All right. Before observation, a priori. After observation, a posteriori. I hear Io and Europa, and I think Destiny. They're just, yeah, they're moons of Jupiter. The book I'm reading right now is set on Ganymede, at least in part. All right. So, gear shift. Now we're going to talk about arguments. And you're going to make your first argument. It'll be due next Friday. You'll have a week to make this argument. And the way that our discussion forums go in this class is I open up the discussion forum, and you have a week to write an essay. I give you a minimum length requirement, and I read the directions, by the way. Like, this is an important skill for life. If you can read directions and follow directions, you will do very well. Maybe you won't do very well, but you're a lot more likely to do well in life than if you can't follow the directions. Like, in a past life, I did a lot of grant writing, and a lot of grant writing is just like, when they ask you to talk about, you know, how many, you know, give me the breakdown of students by grade level and gender and ethnicity, you give them a breakdown of students by grade level, gender, and ethnicity. You don't like write an essay saying like, well, we have a lot of this and a lot of that without numbers. Like, no, I make a table and I just fill in all the data they're looking for, and then I get full points on it. And so I was a very successful grant writer because I could follow the directions. And so on the discussion forum, it will say you have to do this, 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 and this. And if you do that, you get full credit. Yay. Okay? It's very straightforward. And every year I have students who just sleep through it or whatever and just don't do it, and then sucks to be you lose the points. Basically, if you do it and follow the directions, you get 100%. You're going to hear me say that a lot in this class. Like, this class is not designed to be punitive. It's not designed to filter people out that are unworthy of computer science. It's like, it's just to get you guys thinking and doing and stuff like that. So, so what you're going to do is you're going to go on there and you're going to make an argument. And then a week later, the thing closes, and it will assign a peer review to you. In fact, oftentimes I do 2, just in case one of the peer reviewers flakes out and doesn't do it, then you'll get at least 1, right? And then that person will review your argument and write a critique of it. And one of the things that I will say, we'll mention this again next week when we do it, but it's always worth going over as many times as needed. When interacting with people in this class, always be positive. Okay, it's really easy, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about. It's really easy to be negative towards people online, and it's easy to be accidentally negative towards people online. The first time I did this class, in fact, I did a discussion forum, and I'm like, all right, you have to critique the other person, and the very first response I read was, "Whoa, hold on there, champ. Everything you said was wrong." And I was just like, no, don't do that. This is not Twitter. This is not Facebook where you're flaming some random person that jumped onto a friend of yours. No. When you critique your friends, you must be positive, 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 and you're all friends as far as am concerned. You're all friends. When you do critique people, hamburger method, say something nice about what they did, then give your criticism, then finish with something nice. Okay, hamburger method leaves everybody feeling happy. And this is like, if there's any life skill that you walk away from with this class, remember the hamburger method, because you will have to disagree with people at some point in your life, And so like your boss runs a report past you to proofread. If you just be like, yeah, this looked like it was typed by a cat walking on my keyboard, it's not going to be good for the relationship you have with your boss and possibly your career. So, but you need to make you need to make the corrections, right? And so you say, hey, I liked how this made our business look really strong. I just have some minor corrections. I've already marked it up. I've already made the changes. Send it back to you. Thanks for doing this over the weekend, boss. This is going to be great for our company. Send it to them, and then they'll just kind of skim over your changes. They're not going to realize that you made 500 spelling and grammatical corrections. They'll just kind of read it over. They're like, oh yeah, thanks for doing that. And then they feel good, you feel good, the company does well because they have a good report or whatever. I don't know. You guys understand? So, arguments. You're going to make an argument. So what is an argument? An argument is a claim backed up by evidence. Okay? A claim by itself is called a naked claim. Okay? Or a naked premise. It's worthless. I think that Taylor Swift is the best musician in the world. Okay, cool. Neat. I don't. If you're making an argument, I'm going to argue why Taylor Swift is the best musician in the world. Look at her record sales. That's evidence, right? Look at her popularity among girls between the ages of 15 and 17. So, those are facts, right? And so you can make an argument for even something that you don't believe, right? And that's actually the sign of an intelligent mind. The sign of a critical thinker is that, like, you can argue for almost anything, not anything, but like, if you gave me, like, if you offered me $1 million to make an argument that Taylor Swift was the best musician in the world, I would put my heart and soul into Googling and finding quotes from people who said that Taylor Swift changed their lives, and like the song about her staring at her window at a dude and she's like a nerdy girl with glasses that touch people on the inside because they're all beautiful girls that are only considered ugly because they have glasses on too. I don't know. I'll be your Romeo and you be your Juliet or something. Like, she brought Shakespeare back. Like, I would go heart and soul into proving that Taylor Swift was the best musician of all time, even though I don't believe it. Clearly the answer is Iron Maiden. So, you think Drake is... did Drake call you on your telephone? Okay. So, so let's get into it. So, an argument's not disagreement. And I can't show this video because I'm going to get a copyright strike on YouTube. But I'll post the link on Discord so you can watch it. So there is a famous sketch by Monty Python called The Argument Clinic. Actually, it's probably not it. Videos. Daily Motion. What the heck is Daily Motion? Okay, we'll just post this. So, sound like a hardcore Taylor fan? I will if they offer me $1 million. Sure. In all seriousness, I haven't listened to her latest album, but I've actually listened to most of her stuff, and I actually do think that she is a talented musician. Like, I'm not into pop music at all, but I will say that her songs are catchy, and she seems like a pretty decent person. So, my genre of choice is either classical music or heavy metal. So those are, that ever comes up on a midterm. Okay, so an argument's not disagreeing with people. That's what that Monty Python sketch that I just posted on chat is about. A person goes to an argument clinic, he pays $5 or whatever to have an argument with somebody, and all the guy does is disagree with him. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. That kind of stuff. Argument's not about disagreement. Argument is about persuasion. Okay, and that's why this class is so important. Is because to go through life, you will have to persuade people to your side. You know, and we're not talking like some sort of like skeezy Machiavellian, like, hey, buy my book on how to lose weight in 21 days. Like, no. If you go into a job interview, you're trying to persuade the people to hire you, right? I got this job because, actually, I didn't have to persuade anyone. They just kind of offered it to me. The last job I applied for, I had to apply. And I had to go in and I had to do a PowerPoint presentation and like show that I could teach, and like I had to banter with the people on the committee, and I'm very nervous, you know, because you're always nervous in a job interview, at least to a little bit, you know, or at least you're kind of like on point, you know, which is not exactly the same thing as nervous, but like you're like kind of fired up, you know, but you got to be like cool and relaxed and at the same time engaging and intelligent. That's a form of persuasion, okay? And so learning proper argumentation, how to make an argument, again, it's not screaming at people, disagreeing with people. How to make a proper argument is very critical in life. You know, that's why critical thinking is one of the required subjects at our college, right? Like, it's, you know, we mandate that every student at Fresno State take a critical thinking class for this reason, because it's so important. So, an argument is a collective series of statements to establish a proposition. Okay, so I just say it's a claim supported by evidence. Okay, you make a claim, you give good evidence for it, that's an argument. Okay, why should you hire me? You know, why should you hire me? That's an argument. Well, you know, I know how to teach. Here's this award that when I was adjuncting for you, you gave me a certificate saying that I'm an excellent teacher. That's evidence, right? You know, I'm like, you know, I don't know how much these certificates are worth anything, but look, I got an award for excellence in teaching, and they're like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, because I didn't know if they just like gave it to everybody, right? Like, oh. That's. Do you guys get what I'm getting at? And not all the evidence is even like in that case like verbal, right? A lot of it was body language, how I could talk, how I could stand, how I could work a crowd, so to speak, you know, make eye contact with people while I'm lecturing and giving a talk on computer science. My talk was on how to add 1 + 1. That was what got me hired, by the way. They gave me a choice of 5 topics. I picked the easiest one. No response on Discord. That's a tough problem. I know, it is. It's a bunch of math, you know, people in the committee, hiring committee too. So yeah, not all of it is verbal. But for this class, we're pretty much going to be doing textual arguments, you know. But be aware that in real life, like, you make your case through tone of voice, through body language, through eye contact, things like that, as well as through words. Okay. So, here's how you make an argument. Your starting point are the premises. The premise for your argument will be given to you. Make sure you read the premise very carefully. Make sure you argue for your premise, not against it. This happens every year, every semester that I've done this. I don't do it every semester, but you guys seem like a fun crowd to mess with. So I'm going to give you a thesis that you will have to defend. And the thesis is, college is a waste of time and should be abolished. So that is your thesis. It's given to you, okay? And that's the claim. And you are going to have to argue to the conclusion from that. So basically, well, the conclusion is kind of however you want to put it. What you have to do is say, all right, this is the claim that I'm arguing for. I'm arguing for the sentence, college is a waste of time and should be abolished. Now you're going to have to go out there and you can establish some premises, things that you're just going to assume to be true. For example, I think it is good for people to be happy. I'm not going to defend it. I'm just going to assume that that's true. And if you disagree with my premises, that's fine. But like, I think most people can accept that greater human happiness is a good thing. Whatever. Or I'm going to say that the goal of college is to get a good job, and so I'm going to assume that a path through life that results in more jobs and less debt is a good thing. However, the premises are what you start with, and then you work your way logically towards the conclusion. The conclusion is, therefore, college is a waste of time and should be abolished. Okay, so why would I bother to defend that? It's obviously true. Right now, no. You're going to have a week to do this. You're going to have a week to argue. Okay. Online on Discord. There's a section on Discord for the discussion forums. Let me just show you what they look like. It's going to make me log in. No, good. By the way, guess what color the class is now? I don't know if you can see that the text is a slightly different color. It's not black anymore. So, yeah, here's one from like last year. So basically, what happens is I post the assignment, and then you respond to it. Let's see if we can find one from last year, so you can kind of see what this looks like. That's last fall. And let's see, what is a discussion we did? Okay, so a person gives a response. They give their sources, and then people respond to it, and they come back and they say, "Hey, I really like how well you laid out your position on the topic. Help me understand exactly." See, hamburger method. Yeah, very good. Well done, Sean Smith, an active student. It's inactive because it's last semester. However, I disagree with a couple things. See, hamburger method. If you were to invite someone to your house, you're now subject to what they're willing to do. So basically, you write your argument, and then a week later, you're given a peer review. You do a peer review. Writing your essay is half the points. Doing the peer review is half the points. If you don't write the essay, you don't get a peer review. So again, meeting deadlines and following the directions is like one of the most important skills in life, and so I believe very strongly in preparing students for the real world. And so, yeah, deadlines, as long as you can do that, you're probably going to get an A in this class. The midterms and finals might knock you down a notch or two, but it's you study, you show up, you participate. How many sources? We'll say 3. Say 3 sources. It's a good number. And you just give it URL. And students always ask, do I have to use MLA format, APA? I don't care. Just a URL is fine. This is not an English class. I don't grade you on grammar unless your thing is so unreadable. I'm just I'm yeah, I can't read this. 0 or 5 out of 10 or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. The way that it works is that you're given bullet points, and for each bullet point you do, you get points, right? And so you're not graded on your essay exactly. You're graded on if you followed the directions. This isn't an English class. I'm not grading you on the beauty of your prose. I'm grading you on, did you make a claim supported by evidence? Did you have 3 points of evidence? Did you do your peer review? Each one of those is points. So, are you copying and pasting it, or providing a link to the full paper? Am I a generous grader? I would say so. I'm just yep, they did that, they did that, they did that, they did that, done. And if you want to bold the part where you're here is my first reference, bloop, and you bold it, and then I can be okay, they did that, they did that, they did that, A. That's it. That's how I grade. Here's 5 bullet points they had to do. They did all 5. They get an A. That's it. In your peer review, did you insult the other person? If so, you're going to get a 0. It's very straightforward. There's no, I'm not here to beat you guys up. You just do your best effort, and that's it. Can an example be posted? Yeah, I can post some examples from last year. That'd be fine. That'd be good. Is the bot fixed? Yeah. So starting on Monday, I will run a command before class on Monday. and then it will be automatically counting your participation every class day. For this time period for week 1 and 2, it's weird anyway because week 1 starts on a Friday, which is, I don't know why Fresno State does that, but they do. I guess Monday is a holiday and Wednesday is the professor day where we all get together and sit through interminable meetings. But anyway, so like the first week's weird anyway. So I'm going to do week 1 and 2 by hand. I'm just going to go through and search through your Discord history and see if you participate each day. And you just kind of manually do it, which is tedious and time consuming for 90 students, right? But I'll do that. And then starting on Monday, the bot will run, and the bot provides me a report every week of your participation on Discord. Okay, so yeah, that's a big topic. We'll get into that next week. But basically, when you do your peer review, I want you to find if you can. Sometimes the arguments are absolutely perfect, but you come on. You're going to have to attack the argument, but you're going to have to do so in a positive fashion, like that example I posted. Like, hey, I liked what you did. However, there's a flaw in your argument. And so you can't just say, no, you're wrong, or, oh, hold on there, champ. Everything you said. I was like, oh, dude, don't be that guy. There's 2 ways of attacking an argument. You know, basically, like, let's say they post a source, and the source says that girls from the age of 20 to 30 like Taylor Swift more than anyone else. And you click on that source, and you read it, and it's like, oh, no, she's just the #1 artist in pop. Everybody likes, Megan Thee Stallion. Better, in some other genre or something. You know what I mean? Like, so one way of doing it is to like look at their sources and see if the sources actually say what they claim that it said. Right? So that's one way of undermining an argument, is you look at their sources and see if it actually says what they said. That's one. Another is if a premise is wrong, like if they say, hey, I think that human happiness is the most important thing about college. You might say, hey, college isn't about being happy. College is, college is about anxiety and stress. No, college is about preparing us for the real world, right? Or for academia, depending on your goals. It's not about making people happy. It's about preparation. And so I think your premise is wrong. And if the premise is wrong, then the whole argument showing that college makes people unhappy doesn't matter anymore. So, you're happy in college, yeah. I was very happy in college too. It was the best 8 years of my life. So, satisfied to say the least. Yeah, no, it really was a good time for me. I'm being if you haven't caught on by now, I am somewhat sarcastic. But I you don't want to move on. I thought that too, and then at some point I realized I was tired of being poor, and so like my graduate advisor was like, "Hey, you wanna stay on, longer and work for me?" And I'm like, "No, I mean I do, but like I don't, I kind of want to not be poor anymore." So yeah, so I left college and entered the real world, and got a job and worked professionally as a lot of things actually over the years, and then only became a professor in 2015. It's my retirement job. So you can show that a premise is wrong, or you can show that the argument doesn't follow. So for example, if somebody says happiness is the greatest good, college should be about making people happy, and then they start talking about like cats or something, you're like, there's no logical connection between happiness and cats. Like if they said, hey, cats are the best way of getting happiness, that's one thing. But if they suddenly just like have a non sequitur and just start talking about like, their cats or something, you're just like, no, that doesn't follow, And so we'll go into more on how to do this after you get your peer reviews and stuff like that. But that's the general idea. So what you're gonna have to do is you are going to have to make a claim supported by evidence. Just one page. Nothing fancy. The thesis is given for you. All you have to do is go out there, find evidence, write it up in a couple paragraphs. I don't want to see any like 5-paragraph essay, like whatever, like you learned in 4th grade. Like just, you know, I just want to see you argue a point that is counterintuitive, right? Because this is one of the signs of a flexible mind, of a critical thinker, is that the assignment will be posted within the next hour or so. I mean, I gotta get to another class, so it might be this afternoon. I'm in classes till 4, so I'll try and get it done in the next half hour before my class. But if I can't, then it'll be tonight. And you've already been given your thesis that college is a waste of time and should be abolished, so you don't even have to come up with a thesis. You just have to think about, all right, how am I going to argue that? Okay, and you got to find evidence. How do I support that with evidence? Because most people, you know, and I, to be clear, I don't believe this, right? I'm quite obviously a college professor. I don't think that college should be abolished. I think college is, you know, good for people, especially this class, right? But the point is if you are a critical thinker, you can argue even for things you don't believe. And this is a nice, fun topic, right, to start off the semester with it. You have to support the thesis. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to make an argument. You have to make an argument. You have to say what your premises are. Like, these are the things that I'm just going to believe to be true. And then here's some evidence, and this allows me to conclude that college is a waste of time and should be abolished. So it should be it should be fun for you. Like, don't get too wound up that I'm like trying to like shut down Fresno State, or like I'm not. You know, clearly, this is just a fun. Are you guys with me on this? Like, you should, like your essay itself should be serious. Like, you must make it a serious effort on it. Like, this isn't like a joke parody thing, but it should be kind of fun. I don't know. Like, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, the directions will be up on Canvas. Read them carefully, and then a week from now, you'll get your peer review. Then you'll have a week to do the peer reviews after that. And so your grades will be coming in starting 2 weeks from today. So they won't be graded a week from today. They get started graded 2 weeks from today, and it takes a while to grade them because there's 270 responses to read. There's 90 people and 2 peer reviews per person. So, okay. All right. I hope you guys had fun today. Watch that Monty Python video on the argument clinic. It'll maybe give you some insight on proper argumentation versus improper one. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. All right. See ya.